Hello, happy Thursday, and welcome to Ask Wildman. My name is Miles Bassett, and this is an open Q&A produced by Wildman Web Solutions to answer your questions about technology, marketing, business, or anything else that you might want to talk about. Hopefully, you're catching us live. We're now live streaming to our Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn pages. We do this every week, Thursdays at noon, to hopefully answer your questions. So if you have any questions about technology, about marketing. Our specialty is as a digital marketing agency based here in Lawrence, Kansas. We work primarily with small businesses and launched this live stream, I guess, a year or two ago to knock out a lot of those questions one fell swoop. So we're getting a lot of the same questions. We wanted to answer those questions and get out some good resources. So here we are. If you like what we're doing here, you like the information that we're sharing, please give us a like, share, subscribe. You know how social media works. It helps us to reach more people, get this information out to more people, and answer some more questions. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my partner, Mike, to help us talk about the subjects of the day and answer your questions. Mike, you ready?
Oh,
There we
yeah,
go.
Miles.
Hey.
Never been more ready than this. Tell you what. Good afternoon, good morning, whatever it is. It's fine to see you today, Miles.
One of those days, I'm still working through my coffee from this morning at 1 million cups. Quick shout out to them. Wednesday mornings at 9. They are now at the Peasley Tech Crunch Center. It used to be at the library. They moved over to Peasley Tech a few weeks ago. If you want to hear a presentation from a local entrepreneur or entrepreneurial support organization, you can head over there. It's free and open to the public. There's free coffee and lots of good conversation and networking to be had. So yeah, shout out to our friends there at 1 Million Cups.
Every Wednesday, not Thursday.
Every
Don't
Wednesday
don't
morning.
go on Thursdays.
Yeah, every Wednesday morning, 1 Million Cups. We are every Thursday doing this live stream. So if you have any questions, you have anything you want us to hit, or if we're talking about something you have your two cents to throw in, or you want us to expand on something, please throw that in the comments. We'll be watching those and responding to it live. So yeah, put your questions below in the comments, or again, if you have any experiences, or if you want us to take a deeper dive into something, we take your input, your feedback, and use that here in the show, as well as informing our show next week, because we're doing this every week, Thursdays at noon. If you are not catching this live, you're watching this later, you can still ask us your questions and involve yourself in the conversation by emailing us at askwildman@wildmanweb.com. I have the address scrolling below us here, so just email us there and we'll either respond to your email or use that in next week's show. All right, so to get going here, I know we teased a couple of items last week. We wanted to dive a little bit deeper into a couple of elements. Last week we were talking about Google, particularly the Google Business Listing, previously Google My Business, now officially the Google Business Profile, how to best use that. And that, of course, led into a couple of subjects revolving around search. So we want to take a little bit of more of a deep dive and talk about the future of search. Mike, I know you had a couple of points that you want to throw in there. I want to come in from the tech side a little bit and talk about some of these developments and how they might apply to our audience in the small business community. Some of this stuff is pretty high tech and I think pretty far down the pipeline, but some of it is happening right here, right now. Some of it may as well have happened yesterday. So we want to make sure that you're on top of some of these updates and able to leverage them properly.
Yeah.
Basically sum it up, Mike?
Yeah, 100%, Miles. And if you don't mind, I'll kind of set the scene here with just kind of the overview of the situation. And yeah, I want you to get into the nitty gritty of the tech side for sure. But I was, of course, we did talk about this last week, but we were in a meeting the other day talking about search with a prospective client. And it got me thinking about this topic again. And that is, I think the client was asking us because we were talking about SEO and SEM and just how much of the market share does Google have? And we both kind of stopped and laughed and was like, geez, I haven't specifically looked that up or really even thought about it in a while, but it's a lot, and then I kind of was after the meeting, I was like, well, why haven't I been thinking about that? And it's kind of like we almost got a little static in our thinking about search, that Google had just become this behemoth giant. And we have now been kind of gotten complacent that this is the way search is always going to be. This is, how it is and how it's going to remain. And hey, if we're the kings of search right now on Google, then we got nothing to worry about, right? It's smooth sailing. And of course, as you know more better than anybody, Miles, this entire industry is rapidly changing, and it's specifically with search, there are some monumental changes coming down the pipeline. And I think, kind of to set this scene, I think part of what's going on here and why Google is getting a little bit more aggressive with rolling out some features, if you will, is because they're getting more competition. And, they're not just sitting up there all alone on top of the hill with nobody coming after them anymore. In this article we saw, I sent you recently, it mentioned TikTok as the number one search platform for Gen Z. Nobody really probably saw that coming 5 years ago. Amazon has gotten very aggressive in search. So there are competitors out there, and the landscape is changing. And so in response to that, Google, being the incredible company that it's always has been, is they're going to put out some changes in order to combat that and to keep their market share. And so we wanted to talk about some of those changes that are coming about and really drive home the importance of what we were leaning on last week, which is using Google as a proper tool for search, for your Google My Business page, and maybe even for some advertising, local search service ads, things like that. It is really, really important today that Google sees your business as an authority, especially as a local authority in whatever categories or keywords that you're doing business in. As we move into this new realm, it's going to become absolutely essential that Google sees your business in that way. And so you've got to start, working on this now, or you're going to get caught, way, 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 way behind. And so that's kind of the scene that I wanted to set here. But last week, Google had their third annual Search On conference, which is basically just a big to-do that they do over there at their headquarters, and they roll out a bunch of features, just like Apple and all these other companies do. But this is specifically about search. And so they rolled out some interesting features. As Miles said, some of them are a little ways off, like some of the VR stuff, but some of them are already being implemented right now. And it's just a matter of time, probably more like months instead of years before the consumers pick up on this stuff and start to run with it. The one that we've talked about before extensively on the show, and we'll hit here again, I'm sure, is voice. And how that's really changing the entire landscape, that people aren't necessarily just typing something into the box and getting a page of search results and choosing from that. We can now, on our phones or on our home devices, we can just say what we want. It's quicker, it's easier, and we're going to get what we need faster. So that's ultimately, probably going to win out. And it was really interesting in the Search On event that Google kept emphasizing this going outside the box, meaning that, when we think about Google, we think about the homepage and the little box where we text things in. And they're, really in this next phase, they're going to completely lift us out of the box and give us all kinds of different tools that don't just result in a page of search results. So like I said, voice, we've talked about before. The one, though, that really caught my attention, Miles, was visual search, because this is something that I wasn't that versed on, so I had to read up a little bit on it. But it also just really took me to that place of going back to what we talked about years ago. We need to talk about it a little bit more, but that place of a mindset in your business that you really also need to be a media company. And you need to be producing content. You need to be producing great pictures, great videos, written content, voice, everything, to really be an omni-channel presence and be able to be found by your customers wherever they may be. And so that really kind of, had that light bulb go off. But basically, and I'll let Miles get into the technical side of stuff, but basically, when you go to Google now, you'll see the little camera over on the right side. If you've never tried that before, click on it. You may have to download the Google app, but basically you can take that It's a little search bar camera. I forget what they call it. They have a pet name for it, but something silly. But you can point that at anything you want, and it's going to be able to do a search for you. So if I point this at a pair of shoes and I say, where can I get these? It's going to let me know, hey, you can get these here. If I point at something I'm eating at my house, I might say, hey, where can I get this dish? It'll take me to, a local restaurant or something like that. But it's only going to do that if Google sees that restaurant or that shoe store as a local authority for that key term that we're using. And so that's where it goes back to what we were talking about last week about SEO and about your Google My Business page and how you can leverage those to make Google actually see that you are an authority in that area. You can also add in text on top of it. So, you can really do some deep, in-depth searches with this new function, and it's all through the camera on your phone. So that, obviously a huge step forward, and that's available now. So is what they call the multi-search, where you can take a picture and then type on top of it if you want to do a deeper search. And those are now being served to local companies. So you can do a local search. You can do a near me search. You can say, I want pizza near me, and take a picture of a piece of pizza. The other one that I thought was really revolutionary that they're rolling out later this year was the new map. And it's basically a live interactive map. So we talked a lot about the map last week, and Miles did a great visual display showing us, how you can show up on the map for search results. That is going to change though. And we're not going to have a 2D map anymore. It's going to be a 3D live interactive map. And so one of the things that we talked about last week that we really need to, harness are your ability to get good reviews on Google, because that is really going to help you on the map searches. And I know people don't like getting reviews. They don't like asking for them or, bothering people for it. But I promise you that is going to be a huge step forward when this new map gets laid out. And then the other thing that we've talked about before, of course, is voice. Voice is probably the thing that will take over, I don't know, I think the most or the fastest, but I could be totally wrong on that. I don't like to make, picks, let's say, but I think all three of those are going to play into a huge role moving forward. But the thing about any of these is that it takes us out of that realm of a page of search results, and it takes us into what does Google really want us to find. And that's always been true, that Google, puts the search results on the top of the page that it wants us to find the most, but it's going to be much more selective once these new products get rolled out and they're fully being used than it was before. We're no longer going to be on a page with all of our competitors and we're able to scroll down as the consumer and, say, oh yeah, let me think about that one. Let me think about that one. Let me think about that one. No, it's either going to be what we as the consumer asked for, a brand name or a company name, or it's going to be what Google suggests as a top result, whether we're talking about the visual, the voice, or the traditional text. And that's going to be, like I said, much more selective. We're not going to be able to rely on being the fifth or the sixth result on a page and hoping somebody sees us and goes, oh yeah, I remember those folks. That is going to get less and less of a thing as this moves forward. I'll give you a quick example on not the Google, but the Alexa side, if I can right now. Hopefully you can hear this, Miles. But Alexa, order me a pizza.
I'm sorry, I can't do that.
Alexa, order me a sandwich.
This device has only one registered account.
Can't quite hear her response. I
Okay.
can hear her talking in the back.
So basically, Alexa's going to tell me what the top search result is through, like I said, Amazon is becoming a huge search engine, especially in the shopping range. So Alexa wants me to order Domino's. Okay. Well, I tell you right now, Domino's is not my favorite, and Domino's is not the closest place to me. I can think of at least 3 other pizza places that are closer to me and I would probably order over Domino's. But if I'm in a hurry and I don't have a place in mind, maybe I'm just going to say, sure, order it, right? because speed always wins, convenience always wins. We've talked about this on the show many, many times. And so this goes back to something that we talked about when we did the voice search show, I think several months ago, and that is about brand. That this is where the rubber meets the road in terms of brand. That if I don't say, there's a spin about 1.5 miles or so down the road from me, and that's usually where I go get pizza. If I don't say, Alexa, order me a spin pizza, who knows where that's going to come up, right? I could probably sit there and ask her 7, maybe 8 times before it got to spin. If I just say, give me a pizza, I'm going to get whatever Alexa thinks is the top search result. So imagine that then through video, through multi, views. It's more important than ever that somebody has the name of your business and your brand on the tip of their tongue, because I'm not going to scroll down on the page and go, oh yeah, spin. That's where I usually go. So again, this is twofold. You have to understand the importance of these platforms, whether it be Google or something else, Google, being the main one, and you have to be able to leverage yourself or your business, being a local authority on that platform. But at the same time, you can't rely solely on that. And the best thing that you could possibly do is to build your brand locally in the minds of the consumer itself and combine that with great search results, whether that be, like I said, through the visual, through the voice, or through the traditional text. So, Miles, that's just kind of the overall situation that I wanted to lay out there about the future of search. I know that you are much more involved in the search engine optimization side than I am. So perhaps you could tell us where you see this going, what we can do that maybe we're not doing right now in order to make sure that we're prepared for this shift. And are there any other things, out there that we need to be looking at besides building our brand and building our local authority on these platforms?
Absolutely. So there's 2 main takeaways I heard from your summary there, and I think the division there is perfect and just how I would have laid it out. One is that these platforms are immensely important in setting yourself up for success, so that these platforms are feeding you business or feeding you traffic, is an absolute must in the current world of running a business and just having a digital presence. These platforms really serve you just as much as they serve their someone who is searching for them. They want to serve up the best option. And so if you leverage them and show them that you are the best option, you are the option that they should be recommending to people searching for these particular services or goods, then they want to do that. So all you have to do is set them up to help you. And on the other side, there's a completely non-technical, or at least partially non-technical solution to just establishing your brand and getting yourself out there. That could be something as simple as going out and talking to people, or going to networking events, or anything that you can do to get your brand on the tip of someone's tongue so they actually know you locally. They can tie your face to your business. It, of course, completely depends on your type of business out there, but there's a lot of non-technical things that you can do to establish your brand. On the first one, though, I want to talk about leveraging these platforms appropriately and setting yourself up for success there. I think the best way to think about it is that all points lead to the search engine. Now, whether we're talking about Amazon or Google or whatever, they're just this sort of middleman, this translator. But there's a bunch of different lines that go out on the consumer side. Maybe that's text search and image search and voice search. And all they're doing here, these updates, is branching out and adding more lines out to reach out to the consumers and bring them into that particular search engine. Similarly, on the mirror side, that's the side that you're on, the business, there's a bunch of different lines that go out to your website, to your Google listing, to your Amazon shop, to your Google shop, or other e-commerce spaces or something like that. There's a lot of different ways that it can find you. And what it's trying to do is just match from one to the other. So it's not like someone's voice search is going to come in and just do a search and find someone listed on some sort of voice listing directory or something. It's that if someone searches for bike repair shop near me or something like that, says, hey, Alexa, I broke my bike, I need help, find a repair shop near me, or whatever it is, it's going to go into that middleman, that search engine, and it's going to go out and find the most authoritative, or what it believes to be the most authoritative, best relevant option to serve to that customer. And that could be because that bike shop went and set up their Google business profile. They put in bike repair as a service that they offer, and they happen to be near this person. Maybe it's the case that there's actually a bike repair shop that does a perfectly good job that is closer to this person, but they didn't put all of their services explicitly by in the exact way that that person said it in their Google business profile, and therefore they're not showing up in that voice search or in that image search. And so when we're talking about all these new technologies and new ways that you can search for stuff, it's really exciting. It's really cool. It definitely changes the search optimization game, like in my world over here. But for the small business owner, it really means the same thing. You need to establish yourself online. You need to fill out as much as you possibly can on these different listings. You need to be as present as you possibly can on different listings, services, business directories, apps, map services. The Google map is, of course, incredibly important, but there's also Apple Maps and Yahoo Maps, and people are using all these different services, and you want to have yourself made available and optimally available on all of these different platforms as much as you can. For example, you brought up, I think your example was pizza, but more broadly, there are specific functions only serving food and restaurants. For example, we're talking about the Google business listing. You can put your menu, your entire menu, on your Google business listing. And in fact, they are really leaning into that and adding a bunch of new cool features for restaurants specifically on Google. That's one of the things that was highlighted in the updates that Mike was referencing from Google, so that you can search for a particular food item and it will cross search a bunch of different restaurants, look at all their menus, and then bring you a bunch of different options based on the food item that you looked at, rather than looking for a particular type of restaurant or something. You're looking for an Asian restaurant, you're looking for a burger restaurant or something. You can put in a specific item on there and it will search across all the menus. You won't even be an option on there if you haven't put your menu items in your Google business profile. So that's one of those examples where you can optimally utilize a directory or a tool put in front of you by these platforms so that they can better serve you and get you more business.
Excellent point. And let me ask you a question on that specifically too, because as I was really reading and watching their demonstration of the visual search, and I thought about restaurants, and you're leading me exactly where I was trying to go with it. My question is, shouldn't they not only have their menu on there, but a high resolution picture of every single one of their signature dishes? I mean, and that is going to register Google in Google's mind as they're more of an authority than somebody that just has a static menu, a PDF or whatever looking menu on there, that then the person in the visual search can actually search through the gallery of images and pick out, oh, this is the dish I wanted to order.
Yeah. Short answer, yes, that's definitely a good thing to do, but I'll give a couple of tactical responses there. And that's based off of where things actually are right now versus where Google may think that they're going, and where I actually think they're going as well. But as of right now, text search is still king. And so if you have nothing else, if you want to do nothing else, put everything out there in text version. So that means putting your menu on your Google business listing, for example, in text. Maybe you don't have the time or the resources to go through and take a picture of absolutely everything that you have, but you can make that investment to put that menu, or at least your main menu, the big sellers or something, on your Google business listing. Now, if you have a little bit of extra time, yes, I do think it would be beneficial to add images to those things, especially as something like image search gets better and more prominently used. A halfway point between those two, and this kind of leads to maybe something we'll have to talk about next week, and that is accessibility. There are some text settings that you can apply to your images on your business listing and on your website. You could add this alt title or something. It's basically meant for screen readers, for the visually impaired. As they're navigating a website, they can't see what an image is, but they can use their screen reader to point at it, and it will audibly read what it is that they're looking at. A lot of people don't do this. And again, we'll probably have to talk about accessibility and website adherence to the ADA and stuff in a future episode of this show. But for right now, search engines really do look at those things. And so if someone is, say, using the image search on their camera, or it's called Google Lens is the word you were looking for earlier.
Well, they actually have like a name for it. It's like a human name, but yeah.
Oh, there's
Google
another
Lens.
thing. Oh,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. That's the name I'm aware of. But yeah, they might have another name.
Yeah.
Man, tech people are weird. Don't let us name anything.
It's like literally
you have
like they
no
named their
idea.
pet. Yeah.
But anyway, so if someone is, say, pointing a picture at a burger because they want that, and they say, you know, find this near me or something, it's going to go to that middleman, and it's going to come out doing not only the image search, but a text search. And so if it finds on your website that you have many mentions of burgers on your website and your images here, there's several images of what it thinks are burger images because you put that title in there as the, you know, this is a picture of a cheeseburger, then you're more likely to rank higher in that text interpreted query. So there's a couple of different options there. I think that the image search is going to become more and more of a thing, but for right now, text search is still king. And so what you can do if you are our audience and a small business owner and maybe have limited resources is upload images where you can. If you do upload an image, make sure you're also adding a title and other relevant keywords around that image. And that's going to optimally set you up to succeed in this new world of search, including some of these really cool new toys out there that Google and other search engines are beginning to leverage.
Okay, great point. Let me play with this just for a minute here, and draw this example out. So, completely hear what you're saying. Text is still king. That needs to be the first priority. Here's where my butt question comes in, though. This is obviously, SEO is very cumulative. Meaning like we can't turn it on and off. Like it's built over time. So if I'm really only worried about my text and I say, Mike's crazy, he's this visual stuff isn't going to happen soon. Which may be right, by the way. Maybe not the first person to think that. And my competitor, though, he thinks maybe Mike's not as crazy, and what the hell? Let's just try it. And he starts putting a bunch of images, or he or she starts putting a bunch of images with these relative keywords, in addition to beefing up, their text SEO. Doesn't that put me at a disadvantage 2 years from now when this takes off, or whenever it is? Or do you think that it won't be as cumulative as the rankings on the text side of things?
I think that it absolutely is. And of course, the answer here is an and rather than an or. If you have the time and resources and you really want to optimize your online presence for search, then you should be doing some image-based stuff. You should be thinking about voice searches and how to structure your sentences in order to make this optimized for voice. You should be thinking about text-based searches. So yeah, you should be everything, or should be doing everything. My tactical answer there was for those who maybe don't have the time, money, resources, or sanity to put towards putting all of this stuff or optimizing everything in every version. And so there's incremental steps that you can take there. I'd rather see someone go out there and do something rather than be overwhelmed by all of this and end up doing nothing.
100%.
A little bit more directly, yes, SEO is a little bit of a momentum game where you can build up some momentum and really get moving on that and coast off of that for a long time. And it's harder to get in your way or to jump the line in front of you if you do have that momentum built up. And so, like, while you might be doing very well right now, and you are really looking at text and you're optimizing for text, and that's all great, and that's pushing you ahead now, if your competitor is doing a little bit more, or they're doing something that's eventually going to be weighted a little bit heavier, then it could be that they're setting themselves up, trying to think of a momentum analogy, they're bringing themselves up a hill or something. So maybe you don't see them coming right now, but as soon as image really picks up in popularity and all of a sudden that's weighted more, or voice search is weighted more than text search or something, they're going to come barreling down that hill because they've got all of this this potential energy built up in what they've been doing. Plus, they've been matching you tit for tat on the text-based stuff, and they're just going to come screaming past you in 6, 12, 18 months when some of this stuff shifts around. The problem there is just that, you don't know how this is going to shift. Even we in the industry don't really know necessarily where this is going.
Right.
As much as they pretend to know, Google doesn't know where this is going. They're just
Sure.
following the market. If they put all this stuff out there and everyone hates image search, they'll drop this thing like they did Google Glass. And so, we're just trying to do our best to predict the market. We and Google and everyone else in the space is just trying to serve the user as best as they can. And so if you try to do the same thing, if you try to put out the most high quality content you can to describe your business honestly and in as fully as you possibly can, I think that's your best bet.
Yeah.
Stay on top of this stuff. We'll try to stay on top of this stuff and give you tips and tricks and things to be watching out for. For example, those alt title tags on your images, or putting images out on your menu items or something in order to optimize for the potential of this image search that's coming down the pipe. Know that this map is coming up. Knowledge is definitely power in this space. But ultimately, again, just try to describe yourself well, put as much information as you can out there, and use these tools and everything that they're giving you to expand your online presence, and search engines will reward you for that.
Yeah, 100%, Miles. And I do agree with you. As I said earlier, it's really hard to pick, quote unquote, winners and losers of which feature or which platform is going to win out over the other. We aren't venture capitalists here. That's not what we do. That's not our forte. Some people do that, but I think overall, and correct me, you can disagree with me, Miles, but I think overall, the thing that we do bet on, or we say, is going to win in the market is convenience, quickness, and better service. And we don't know exactly which provider is going to win that game, but that seems to be the game, and it seems to be where all the trends are going. And I don't want to get us too off topic here, but I do want to throw this in because this is probably, we need to do a whole show about this. But have you seen Amazon One? Have you seen this new payment processor that they've rolled out?
No.
Okay, this is wild. Okay, and I think this goes into that conversation where these companies are going to keep throwing these things out there, and it's going to be a matter of the consumer behavior, picking up on them, adapting them, and then making them a part of their everyday life. Okay, short story. Everybody should go to the Amazon One website when this stream gets done and check this out. But it's basically, you use your handprint. Okay, they take an image of your palm. And as you're checking out in an Amazon store or a Whole Foods, they're rolling them out in Whole Foods right now all over the place. You just wave your hand over the point of sale system, and it deducts from your bank account, right? I mean, we're all used to, at this point, using Apple Pay and Google Pay. When those things first rolled out, they were kind of weird. It was like, what is this? Why don't we just use a credit card? Well, Amazon has taken that to a whole other level, and I'm going to be really, really, this is going to be an interesting test case, I think, on that theory of quickness, convenience, and better service always wins out. At what point, though, do people say, this is just too weird, I'm not doing that? So
yeah, that's super weird. I don't like it. I'm looking at it now. I hadn't heard of this.
So even on that rule of thumb that we use, there are definitely limits, and we're just going to have to observe, like everybody else, what human behavior does and what human action happens and where the market goes.
Awesome. Well, we're about 30 minutes in now, so I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up this stream. If you have any questions about anything that we threw out there, I know there was a lot. A couple of hints at maybe what we'll talk about in future episodes here. If you have any suggestions for what you want us to talk about, take a deeper dive into, or anything, then please throw that in the comments below. We'll be watching those. You can also email us at askwildman@wildmanweb.com. Also visit our website there. We're putting up lots of awesome resources for free. That includes software and blog posts and all sorts of other resources. that we do in addition to this show. So again, check it out, wildmanweb.com. We will be back here live streaming to Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn next Thursday at noon. And I think that's it from us. So Mike, thank you very much. And we'll see y'all next week.